light on?
There we go. Look at us. We're live. Well, don't look at us because we're not. You can't see us. Let me find us. Let me find us. Are we out here? Does the internet know we're here? There, the internet found us. All right, I'm making it public. Happy. It's a fake Wednesday night because I usually go live on Wednesday nights. But I had. I'm going back to back. Actually, I had a show last night. Okay, we're officially shared. If you guys are, we're public, I should say. If you guys want to go share it to your cronies. But I had a guy last night. Jim Penman was his name, and he is like the home service king of Australia. He's got 500 some franchises just in the southern hemisphere, like just between Australia and New Zealand. And it's hilarious, like how little we would know about him, right? Because it's not a household name. And he's like, "Yeah, I'm embarrassingly like famous in it here, and just nobody knows me across the rest of the world." But I had him on last night. It was just like when the time conflicts, we could arrange it. So I'm going back to back, which, as Brad knows, means I need a tall beer. I got a 16-ounce beer since it's a back-to-back show.
I came prepared.
There you go. It's after Brad's. It's too late for Brad. He's got to wind down. He can't have all those calories.
Brad needs a coffee.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness! No. Let's see.
But we're out here. We got Grant Harrill. Did I say? Is it Harrill? Harrill?
Correct. Harrill.
I like to take people's last names and put the wrong emphasis on the wrong syllable just to see how it goes. But we got Grant Harrill in the house from mySalesman, and we got Brad Williams in the house from Structure to Grow. I was actually asking my wife tonight if she finished the best podcast I've ever heard, which isn't this one. I'll tell you that. But man, if you guys are out there and you haven't listened to Unhinged, that is like the coolest business fiction story.
It's a mystery. It's a fence mystery.
It's just you guys did so fucking good. Apologize to my French mom and grandma who tune in, and Aunt Sal who tune into the show every once in a while and don't like when I drop F-bombs. But that you guys absolutely effing nailed it. So good. So good.
Thank you. We are working very hard to continue the tradition. Yeah, it's so much fun. I appreciate it. Like, you are like one of my like biggest fans, and it just makes my day when you say nice things about the podcast.
Dude, it's so good. It's like I do, and this is just me because I'm like too ADD. I have a really hard time with just straight reading business books or listening to like a business podcast because it's just like things that I already know a lot of times are getting like woven into the way somebody wants to say it so they can sell you something. And I feel like you guys did a great job of embedding lessons into entertainment, which is what I do a really half-assed job of with this podcast. Is I want to be entertaining and fun and not feel like we're doing business stuff while you're learning a bunch of business stuff from cool people. That's the goal. It's like when you got to feed a dog a pill, but you wrap it in a bunch of sausage and bacon.
Right.
That's what I want to make this podcast. What you guys just did is so much better.
I'm going to use that. So next time I explain to somebody what Unhinged is, I'll be like, well,
you know,
it's
when you
like medicine, but it's wrapped in bacon.
Yeah. You know, when you give a dog a pill, it's just how we do it.
I was having a conversation with some guys at an event a few weeks back, a couple months ago, whenever it was. And we were talking about it. And he's like, "Oh yeah, I really enjoyed Unhinged." But he's like, the ads really annoyed me. He's thinking, you do know that somebody had to pay for that. Like, I did the best we could with making them entertaining and not intrusive. He was like, "Yeah, I always skip to the ads."
Oh man, I thought. Now here's a bias of mine, and Brad, this isn't going to surprise you at all. Grant, you're going to be like, "Who the hell's podcast am I on right now?" When I was in college, my buddy Mooreshaster Steve and I had a fishing team. We called ourselves the Mooreshasters because we had to fish from shore. Like we ran our rod and gun department on our university campus, and there was a river that flowed through our university. So we had a rod and gun club for outdoorsy people. I was the president and he was the vice president, which was just like double trouble. Like you put two redneck yahoos in charge, which makes sense for a rod and gun club. So we had fishing tournaments on the river. You had to fish from shore. We called it War on the Shore. And the prize went to the people that had the best fishing team name and who caught the most inches of like different species of fish. But we deemed ourselves the Mooreshasters, which was like shore masters, but whenever we were working on it, we were usually having a couple beers, so it turned into Worcesters. And we would film it because you watch a fishing show and you're like, how did these guys get a show? That's your instant reaction whenever you see fishing on TV. You're like, what are these guys doing with the show? Who thought these guys were worth hosting a show? And so we're like, we can do a better job of that. And so we made our own fishing comedy, and we would incorporate crappy segments that they would have in a show, and we would just, make fun of it. And we would film all of our own commercials. And so we had, you guys know the Nature Valley granola bars that are just rock hard, the oats and honey, the maple cruncher.
They fall apart when you open them up.
I don't like those things, but yeah.
Oh, I love them. But yeah, it's a pile of crumbs. And when you give one to a kid, you're like, this is just going to end. There's going to be more everywhere else besides in their mouth. So we rebranded those as oat slabs, because if I said oat slab, that's the thing. That's where your brain would go. You'd be like, oh, a slab of oat. Yeah, I know what that is. I can picture that. And so we had all these taglines for it. For instance, oat slabs, they're good for you. They've got to be, of course. And then my favorite one was oat slabs, best if consumed orally, because you can imagine any other means of consumption of one of those things would be just horrendous. And so we did film our own commercials in our Worcester videos. And in fact, we were probably a little too early for our time, because if we'd have been like a year or two later, I probably wouldn't be sitting here with you guys. I'd be one of those idiots on YouTube making videos and trying to make a living doing it. I probably would have got sucked into it. Instead, we didn't catch on because we took a bunch of classic rock music, put it in the back of our videos, and so YouTube won't play the audio. So it never caught on, but we do have the DVD box sets. I was telling Grant about my Fish House. They're all in the Fish House, Grant. If you ever want to watch,
I need to see these.
I need to see the Worcester DVD box set.
I need to see these. I'm a huge fisherman. I'm all. It'd be right up my alley,
dude. You'd be eating it up.
So you must be like best friends with AC, since he's got the TV fishing background, and you kind of have that too.
I mean, every time I see him, we don't talk about pressure washing. We usually talk about how the bite is, for sure.
Yeah, professional fishing. No. In all seriousness, my hat is so off to you. I always look at people when they were in school and taking on projects like that. I spent my time goofing off. I didn't do anything constructive at all. We'll just leave it there. There were other things that I was doing at my time, but none of it was constructive.
Let's be really clear. The whole Worcester thing was us goofing off. We'd sneak beers into the computer lab so that as we were using their Mac Pros or whatever to edit our content, we were sitting there drinking our beers, laughing out loud, because half the fun of making videos like that is just laughing at your stupid little bits and whatever else you got going on.
Yeah, but more power to you for doing it. That's so cool. How much fun is that? And think of, I assume you embarrass your children with it every now and then, right? If my kids had friends over, we would probably watch those DVDs. If I were in your shoes, I would certainly use.
Yeah, they're all up in the Fish House. I've relegated them to the Fish House. It's like a rite of passage. You only get to see them if you come up ice fishing. That's the only time you get to see them.
So when you shot this, was this early DSLR days, or were you shooting on film and y'all cutting it up in the cutting room, or what?
No, we had this would have been 2005 through 2008. So we had some shitty old HD cameras. They were the first edition of the HD cameras. No microphones or anything. You just had the camera mic. That was all you had. When it was windy, you would just see us moving our mouths and you wouldn't hear a thing.
Yeah,
the wind would just knock out.
That's so awesome.
So we had a couple bits where it was a lot of bullshit subtitles, a lot of captions in there, a lot of hot tips, don't put worms in a square container. Everybody knows worms love cylinders. That's why Cool Whip containers are so popular for worms. You always put your worms in a cylinder. A simple tip like that. Big time.
I wouldn't even know if that was a good tip or just total BS, but I'm buying.
Grant knows what I'm talking about. Have you ever seen anybody put worms in a square? Hell no. No, but
don't be one of those styrofoam losers.
No, worms go in a cylinder. They're worms can't turn at a 90 degree. They to do this. You don't put worms in a square. It's killing them. Speaking of fishing stuff, though, I got to give a nod to Joe Deveneaux, because he's the one guy that fishes as much as I wish I did. Every time I'm man, I wish I were fishing. Yeah, Joe's always like, well, I'm just out here fishing again. I'm just like, dude, like he fishes every day. I'm like, man, I want to fish every day. So I just kind of live vicariously through Joe. But what's up, Joe? Thanks for checking in, man. Jai, producer Jai guy is in the house. Says, what's good? What's up, Jai? We should probably get. I got to do two things. I got the sponsor that I'm supposed to talk about, Service Monster. Now's the time, and I'm gonna just keep saying this every episode until winter's over. If you run a home service business, there's a really good chance things slow down for you this time of year. And it is basically the only time of year that you have a chance to change CRMs or enlist in a CRM, because it's a lot of work. It is the backbone of your business. If you're out there and you don't have a CRM, what the hell are you doing? It's crazy. You're crazy if you're not using a CRM. If you are using a CRM and you are, I'm gonna assimilate it to this. When you're thinking about firing an employee, or you have the thought of like, man, we probably need to let them go. 99.9% of the time, you are going to fire them at some point in the future. And the pain and suffering is dependent on how fast you do it. We've all been there where we like didn't fire somebody that we needed to fire, and we let it linger for a long period of time. And we never regret firing them, but we do regret hanging on to them and whatever shithole that can cause before we actually fire them. And the lesson I've always learned is if you're going to think about firing somebody, you should probably just fire them, because all that's going to happen between now and when you actually do is not good. And the same goes with CRMs. If you're thinking you need a new CRM to scale, that the one you're on isn't supporting the way you need to run your business, you need better tools, which we're talking to Grant from mySalesman. There's going to be some tools we're talking about today. But if you feel like you need better tools to grow your business and scale it, you don't want to like wait and handcuff your business to the most important tool you have, which is how you run your damn business, your CRM. Go get the right one. Maybe it's Service Monster. I don't know. You got to find out for yourself, right? Don't take my word for it. I like it. That's why they sponsored the show. CRMs are finicky, though. There's not one that's a perfect fit for anybody. You got to go figure out the one that meshes best with your processes and the ones where you can tweak your process to fit their setup. And there's a sweet spot in there, and you got to find that one. And the sooner you find it, the easier it is to scale your business. And I'm a bookkeeper, and I'm talking about a CRM. This is the most important thing. Next is good bookkeeping. But go get a good CRM. Joe Devino knows. He said Service Monster. It's one of the best. It's kind of like Oats Labs. They're good for you. They've got to be. Service Monster. It's one of the best. It's got to be. So go check it out. QR code will take you right there. Or probably like servicemonster.com if you like to type. If you're a typey typer, just go type it. Brad Williams, how long you think you're going to make it? Another 40 minutes? You got 40 minutes left in you? 30 minutes? You got 30 minutes before your internet kicks you out, depending on if
we'll see. We'll see how it holds up. We're way out here in the country, Dan, and it gets kind of spotty.
The internet can come in and out at any point in time.
The internet, the guy that's managing the internet up the road, it just he kind of gets sleepy at night. He turns in. We're not on shift work here.
You know about that Starlink? You know about that?
Yeah. I curse our cable internet a lot, and we've talked about Starlink much because it's abysmal. It's like our well's water flow. It's just a trickle.
Yeah. I bit the bullet. Here's how redneck I am. I got Starlink, so I have better Wi-Fi when I'm out ice fishing. Get that baby set up out on the ice. There ain't no obstruction out there, and my cell signal up north in Minnesota gets pretty weak at times. So I got a Starlink sitting in the box downstairs, ready to bust it out this weekend. See how she does. So I finally.
So you just got it? You haven't used it yet?
Just got it. It's in the box. Still in the box. Just showed up.
I'd be very interested how much you like it. Yeah, we thought about getting it for the house, but yeah. Anyway, it's definitely one of them things. But I'm good. We're good.
Now
the setup out there.
Yeah, similar to being biased about your commercials in Unhinged. I think your commercials are great. Maybe I have a lot of experience making really goofy commercials for Oats Labs. So if you need any help and shitty taglines, let me know. But I did go with my buddy Ben, who's like my hunting and fishing buddy, and we had an elk hunting trip in Arizona this year for 16 days out in the mountains. We had a generator and we had a Starlink, so we were like, we'd get done hunting and we'd fire up his generator back in the middle of 2 hours off of a main road in a state forest, and we'd be watching football games and getting work done. So I don't know if we fully checked out enough. Probably should have disconnected a little bit more. But it was hilarious being that deep in the middle of wilderness and being like, oh, who's playing football tonight? We should probably check that game. Oh, I got to check some emails and kick something back. So it's a blessing and a curse.
So are you big on that? I mean, I know that the hunting and fishing and all that is a big part of your life and like your passions. I mean, is checking out part of that for you, or just not so much? Like you're cool to bring the technology with you, or is it like you do set aside some of that sacred time to just like, leave all the noise and the distraction behind? I really am curious.
I tend to find unintentionally, I like to do everything all at once. Like I like to do family stuff. And I have this like trifecta that I run into where it's like, if I'm doing family stuff, I'm thinking about hunting and work. And if I'm out hunting, I'm thinking about work stuff and family stuff. And if I'm, it's like, my brain's doing all of them anyway. And so I'm at my best if I'm like out hunting with my family, checking some emails. Like then I can do everything all at once. But I do appreciate a good checkout, and I'm good enough at putting my phone away and like not needing a device. Ice fishing is all about having devices. Or if you're around like a bunch of people, you're interacting with them. But when we do like our Boundary Waters canoe trip, it's like you don't have any. You're just out there for 5 days and you can't talk to anybody besides the people that you're with. Now, as I say that, I realized that my buddy downloaded a bunch of movies on his phone, and when the weather was bad, we had our blow up tarp, or our blow up couch in the wilderness. So we were sitting on an inflatable couch, miles and miles, like 6 miles of portaging and canoeing back in the middle of nowhere, sitting on a couch, watching a movie on his phone by a campfire. So maybe I do have a hard time disconnecting. I like to do it all at once. I wasn't opposed. We were just laughing about it. It was like if somebody went by right now, they'd be like, what is happening over there? Like, how much technology do these guys bring with them? We had 2 20 by 40 tarps side by side. We had a whole tarp city going on. It was like, couldn't even see the sky. We were just insulated. We were basically building a log cabin out there.
Right. Well, I mean, no judgment at all. I was just curious, like where all that sits with you.
I like to do it all. And if I can do it all at once, that's fun. I don't mind the checking out, but I enjoy the interaction.
Is that me?
It is you. What is it?
Keeps freezing.
Oh. Could be you. It could be. Oh, he's about to say his internet went bad.
Now, after all that I've said,
the beginning of the end.
Yeah, that's right. Now it's like foreshadowing. He's just trying to like start laying some breadcrumbs down.
Are you guys hearing that?
The equivalent to us,
Grant, what do you got going on, man? What's going on in your world?
Heck, keeping up. I've got a 4-year-old daughter, so she keeps me on my toes. But lots of exciting stuff going on over at mySalesman as well.
You got one kiddo, or you got any others besides the 4-year-old?
One. She's the queen. 1 4-year-old daughter.
Are you guys gonna do any more, or were you like, holy shit, one's plenty?
It's been discussed. Yeah, when the time's right.
There you go. That explains exactly how we ended up with 3. Because it was discussed, and it just got discussed long enough that it got manifested into a thing.
It's like, I mean, Dan, it does make me wonder about you. Like how many times before you have to learn your lesson, on taking punishment.
Yeah, probably double digit. I like to test all the angles first, make sure I've excluded. I was actually reflecting on this. We were out ice fishing, and our furnace went out this last weekend. I was with my buddy Seth Goldberg, who has an exterior cleaning business over in Philadelphia, and we were trying to we had 4 little kids. We had my 3 kids. He flew in from Philly with his 4-year-old. So we're like out in the fish house. The temp is dropping. We had the furnace going at like 68, conked out. Now it's getting into the 50s, but they don't know. They're just screwing around, watching things on their iPads and whatever. And he and I have like the furnace where like half the fish house is taken apart to try to get to the furnace and troubleshoot it. And we're like working through it. And I was like, man, I feel like I have a tendency when I do these sorts of things to always first look at the least likely thing instead of the most likely thing, which is like a super backwards logic, but I just want to rule out the most obscure random shit first. And I do the same when I shoot a deer and I'm tracking it. I'm like, it probably didn't go this way, so I'll go verify that. It probably didn't go this way, so I'll go verify that. Okay, now I think it went this way. Oh, look, a blood trail. It probably went this way. But I rule things out first. So I think to your point, Brad, I got to try stuff at least like double-digit times to verify that nothing really weird happened. I think it's a tendency I have.
You want to be sure.
I want to be super sure.
You want to be sure.
And I think I like a surprise in a controlled environment. I like to be surprised as long as it's up to me. Like, I don't want to be surprised when I don't know what's coming. I want to be surprised when I sought it out and be like, oh, shit, look at this. Like, that's a cool surprise. When people surprise you and you don't know it's coming and they, like, scare you, that's not a cool surprise. Nobody likes that surprise. Right. I like to surprise myself. And then it's like a surprise that you get to dictate instead of somebody surprises you against your will. Does that make any sense? I don't know.
I feel like we're learning so much tonight about how it all turns up there. I'm really getting like a really good insight here.
It's pure entertainment around here. It's pure entertainment.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's. I want to get to some mySalesman stuff. Brad, how long? And we got to let Grant spit his juice here. But Brad, I feel like you've been working with mySalesman before Grant came into the picture. So I'm trying to go chronologically of how you got to know mySalesman, when that relationship started, and obviously it's turned into a whole lot of cool stuff, including my favorite podcast. But can you take us back? Obviously, you've been on the show and we've talked about structure to grow and other things that you've done. But get us into the relationship with mySalesman a little bit, and then we'll get into the nuts and bolts of it.
Yeah, Matt and I met.
Matt the Magician.
So Matt the founder of Matt the Miracle. The founder.
Wrong M. I had the wrong M.
No, but Matt the Miracle from the show.
Yeah.
Founder of mySalesman. We met a little over 3 years ago at an event, which, I think for some people probably a little underrated. Like, really, events are about meeting people.
Oh yeah.
The rest of it's fine. The education's fine. The vendors are fine, but it's really about meeting people. And we just kind of hit it off. And, he actually sent his nephews down, and I got him hooked up to do like some apprenticing for a local wash company because they were starting a pressure washing business. And, Matt and I stayed in touch, and then we started working with them, doing marketing and media and all kinds of stuff, a couple of years ago. So, just one of those things. Really had no connection with the fence industry and no idea, about what they did. But it's really built a great relationship with them. They make me feel like I'm part of the team, part of the family. But I get to spend a lot of time with them, and had some cool times out in Nebraska, which is a place I never thought I'd visit.
Middle of Nowari, man.
Yeah, in the middle of Nowari. And right. So does that kind of give you the short version of that?
I dig it. Yeah.
Okay.
And I think you hit a really important thing on the head, because we are coming into, and we're at like the forefront of convention season. There's a ton of conventions now through like April. And anybody that's out there that's on the fence, I know one of my favorite ones, and a few of them got combined this year, but there's the Home Service Workshop, which is Responsicon and Sales Boost and Lighted Up Expo that Ryan Lee does, PWMCA, that's a pressure washing convention. And there's an admin boot camp thing that's a part of it too. I think Jill's office is doing. So it's like 5 conventions all rolled into one. Teresa McConnell just chimed in. CBF Live is coming up in April for the maid service space. She's headed to Orlando right now for a CBF event. Awesome, Teresa. Safe travels. But we're hitting that convention season, and like, I think, Brad, you hit it on the head. Like, I like to go and speak, and it's fun. I kind of do this when I'm up on stage anyway. I grab a beer and I start yelling at people. But that's not the thing that sticks. Like, you might get a lesson or two in there, but the thing that's always sticky is the relationships. it's just always that way. That's everybody that's been to shows and that's been to enough of them over time always reflects on like their best relationships in their space come from going to those shows and BSing and catching up with people and then seeing them again, seeing them again, seeing them again. So I encourage all of you to get out there, go check out some shows, have some fun, meet some good people. It's where it happens.
You know, I think that one of the things that we can underestimate, I know a lot of the people that are in the industry, you know, they're direct consumer. But if you do business with other businesses like myself or Dan or Grant here, you know, with mySalesman, you know, at the end of the day, like people are craving connection and relationships and being able to shake somebody's hand and do business with them and feel good about it. You know, last week I was at an event and they had Stephen Covey come speak. So it was a little small workshop. So there's only about, you know, 25 of us in the room. So not like some big room where he's just kind of yelling from stage, but like working with the group. And do you know who Stephen Covey is? The Speed of Trust.
I know the name, but I don't know that I.
Wonderful book. Highly recommend it. Like it exceeded all expectations. I'd read the book before, but seeing him in person, and you know, he's talking about all this, you know, the case for trust. And he said something that just like totally resonated with me, which was trust is confidence. They're the same word. And I think, you know, when you're looking for somebody to do your bookkeeping, right? When you're looking, clients are meeting you or somebody to like even sign up for software, which is maybe a little less personal. They want to feel confident that like they're going to invest. It's not just the money. It's investing the time and the headache and the fact that they're hoping to take a monkey off their back. And they're not sure who they can trust. And I think that events are just like one of the last great ways to go build those relationships and that trust. So, you know, and I do a whole talk on talking about fakes and stuff. And today I just got like the perfect thing to illustrate it. I'm in my Facebook and I get solicited, right? So apparently somebody I've said yes to on a friend request or whatever, because they had 55 mutual connections.
And, like this person must be legit. Let's hang
out.
And
it'll put a bunch of names. It'll be like Dan Plata and you know, Pat Clark and like a bunch of people I know. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. You know, so that must be all right. And so I just click yes. And anyway, so I get a DM in, and the DM basically is a message offering. They're like, we have unlimited amounts of legitimate Google accounts that can give you reviews. And I think no wonder people don't know who they can trust. Right. Like, you know, yeah, like I'm not saying reviews aren't important on your website, but at the end of the day, like we all view things through a lens of skepticism. Because
more and more everything, now.
Right. Because it's so easy to fake, because how many people say yes to that? In fact, I know somebody that started a business, and when they started the business, sent a message out to everybody they knew, you know, asking for them to leave Google reviews for their business, you know, and it's
never used their business before.
And I, right. And like, you know, my wife and I made it a point to say, this really isn't ethical. I mean, I don't know why, but like, I felt like it like just needed to be said, like, hey, that's not, you know, and the response was, well, doesn't everybody do that? And I think that it's no wonder that people need that. And so I think, you know, again, I'm not trying to over promo events or anything, but when you can shake somebody's hand and look them in the eye and get to know them and have real human connection, you know, it goes a long ways in helping to like close that trust gap. And I think that's a big, you know, big challenge for anybody doing business today. So
I think it's a challenge. And because it's a huge opportunity. I think it's going to be the thing that sets businesses apart going forward. And I think AI is going to be a weird divisive thing where if you smell AI, you're going to start lacking trust. I've run into that when I Google search something. I'm like, oh, this is the AI crap. Right. It's like, I don't trust what AI says. I don't believe it. It's just scraping a bunch of random shit that other bots probably wrote. And so I think there's going to be like is it fake is going to get really under a microscope.
Well, you know, Dan, even if it's right, do you want to do business with an AI bot or do you want to do business with a person?
I like the people. You know me. I like the people and I like old slabs. Two things. I like and cheap labor.
I think most people would agree with you on at least 2 or 3 of those things, right?
Yeah. It's real. Yes.
You know, maybe. Yeah. So I think that like all of that is like so under-indexed in like in marketing and sales and so many of the things we're doing. We're all trying to like, utilize more AI, more technology, more automation and just turn things up when I think what people want is human connection. That's one of the things that attracted me to all the cool folks at mySalesman. I mean, they're the most awesome group of people. And one of the things I do with companies I work with is I, do some customer insights. And so we set up interviews with several of their clients. And we're asking like, well, so what's your favorite thing about mySalesman? What do you enjoy most? What are they best at? Yada, yada, yada. And it's a software company. So what do you expect, right? Some feature that the software does. Well, 100% unanimous. They're like, I love that I can call up and Kelsey or Rachel or Grant is on the other end. And they just help me out when I need it. And they're the absolute best at that. Yep. That's what stands out to people. In an impersonal world, being personal, like you said, is this massive opportunity. And that's one of the things I've always found is special with them is think of all the things we subscribe to. Like we sent these, I'm going way off on tangents here. So just stop me whenever. So we donated some heaters to somebody that was doing a relief drive in Western North Carolina, because they're still suffering.
Yep.
And they still need a lot of help, right? Like there's still people living by the highway in tents. They have no homes. And so they didn't show up. And it kind of got weird. And this was like a bunch of heaters. Like we pulled together some people and sent a bunch of heaters. And we're like, well, we got to like refund that and resend them because people are waiting and we don't know where they're at. So, Nikki goes through this whole Amazon thing. And like, you're fighting with Amazon to like get any kind of like thing. It's like worse than the airlines, right? Like trying to get a ticket changed on the airlines. It's just you can't get to a person. You can't get to a person. And so anyway, so they do end up canceling the order. Well, then they find that they delivered the heaters to like a neighboring church. We're like, so now we're in the process of trying to tell Amazon, no, reverse the undo. Like we don't want the free heaters. We want to pay for them, but that's never going to happen. Right. Because you can't talk to Amazon.
Yeah. There's
right?
There's
nobody on the other end.
My CRM for my bookkeeping business, which man, if I could use Service Monster for it, it would make a lot of sense. I just don't need to route anybody. But the CRM we use, there's no customer service. They did reach out to me to get input from me. So I like had a 30-minute meeting with a couple people and I gave them my list. I had my whole team like compile their list, but it's only chat bots and resource groups. There's no way to talk to him. There's no phone number. There's no email. There's no way to get a hold of anybody. I'm just like, man, you're missing a golden opportunity for longevity. Because the first thing I'm going to think is, the software is okay, but they clearly don't want to listen to me. And so I want to go somewhere where I can talk to a human. I need that. I need it.
Well, Dan, it's like, what's the thing that people struggle most with software is implementation. It's not, I don't want to pay the $150 or $250 or $300 a month. They're like, I don't understand how to do this. And I'm so busy with my business. Yep. The idea of figuring out the software, and CRMs are notoriously hard for a business owner to get in there and make the most of it. So they just want help. Mm-hmm. And like you said, they're missing out on that opportunity. So I don't know. That's one of the things that I think like, the system for mySalesman, yes, it can make you look like a hero, but it's just the fact, like it's still people that help their clients and love on their clients, and they make it easy to set up. And like, that's one of the things that I just have seen is like a standout. And on top of that, like, I'll let Grant say whatever he wants because unsolicited, but, they give people the buying experience that they want on the client end. And I think that may be something it's not always touted. And I don't think that service contractors, and I don't mean this, I'm not trying to put everybody in a basket. Maybe a lot of people do think about it, but I think it's real easy to bias towards like, does it get me the lead? Does it get me what I want? Does it make me more money? And sometimes I think we forget that we're creating a buying experience.
Yeah. We think too short, on the other end. Way too short term sometimes.
And what you really want is for that person to have the easiest, happiest buying experience possible. And so while I know that many guys believe that if they can't go stand eye to eye, and I just went on a big spiel about why that's important, that they don't want to give a price, right? They don't want to, I need to go hunt that sale down. But everywhere else that people are spending money, certainly less than many thousands of dollars, they're used to getting the information online by themselves without having to get into a situation where they feel pressured.
Yeah,
without having to dance with a salesperson.
Yeah, they want to talk to you when they are uncertain, not when you're at the Buckle in the mall and somebody's following you around trying to sell you a $200 pair of blue jeans.
And that's what it feels like sometimes. You have somebody come out to your house to give you a price, and it's like that confrontation may keep them from calling you. You know, and I think it's this opportunity to stand out, but just by giving them the information to at least get an idea, at least be like, oh, now it's in my control. Now I have an idea of what it's going to take to clean the house or the roof, or, you know, in the case of their origins, build a fence or put a roof on my house, you know, the different things that it can do. And it's like, that's what people want, because that's what they're getting everywhere else. Amazon has trained us that we get everything. We get all the information on the front end, and then we can make a decision. And so I think it's like, when we think of it from the client's point of view, giving them a better buying experience gives you a massive advantage, a huge, massive advantage. And they have an expectation. And so, you know, if you're not the guy that charges $200 to do the thing and you charge $600, and they know that, when you get out there and you're like, it's $600 or $800 or whatever, they're not going to fall on the floor and be like, oh, I thought people did this for $199. And you're like, why did I even come out here?
Yeah.
Right. So it's like they qualify, but then they're happier too. And I think, you know, transparency also increases trust.
Transparency and speed. It's not even sales. It's just expectation setting. Just set really good expectations.
It's unbelievable how many people don't know how much things cost, especially in these industries, especially in any service industry. A lot of people are just looking for a ballpark number, so they have a general idea before they get involved with even thinking about making a decision.
Yeah. Does it fit my budget? Can I afford
Nobody
this right
knows.
now?
Yeah.
Right.
The average person, if you'd ask 50 people off the street, how much do you think it would cost to get your house cleaned or your fence cleaned or your driveway washed? No clue.
Do you find that to be true too, Dan? I mean, you certainly are, you know, talk to a lot more contractors than I do, but do you feel like the average public has an idea of what this costs?
It's so hit and miss. In a funny way, it's like a common sense thing, right? But we all have those customers that are like, this one's the classic one to me is, I've been such a loyal client. I've been with you for 5 years. How dare you raise my price? And it's like, Mrs. Jones, I've been giving you a deal for 5 years. I haven't raised your price for 5 years. My insurance doubled. My labor cost doubled. My supply cost doubled. I was being loyal to you. I didn't raise your price for 5 years. I gave you a massive discount. So no, here's our price. And here's an invoice for all the discounted fees that I didn't charge you the last 5 years because I was being loyal to you. Right. There's like, it's twisted in that way when somebody like gets something for long enough, right? If gas is a low price for long enough and then it goes up, we're all like, oh my God. But nobody's like, oh, gas came down $1 a gallon. Sweet. Everybody's like, yeah, it's about time. Right. We're just like, we're conditioned in a weird way as humans. But it does seem like there's like a common sense element to it. And I don't know, you can't, especially as a business to consumer, a little B2C action. When your customers call you, they're not like, hey, I'm an idiot and I'm crazy. Like they don't tell you that. Right. It's hard to know when they call you. They think that they just want your service, but they don't actually tell you if they're nuts. Right. And it's a weird filtering. And it's really funny. And Grant, you guys probably run into this every once in a while. It's nice when it's business to business, speaking personally, because you expect that they understand how your business needs to run because they run their own business. It's still miraculous to me when a customer acts like their customer and you're like, what the hell is wrong with you? You're behaving like your worst customer right now. You're not communicating. This is a freaking true story. We had one guy in our bookkeeping business that wouldn't give us access to half of his stuff. He couldn't even figure it out himself. And he fired us because we wouldn't send him reports. It was our fault that we wouldn't send him reports. And we're like, man, we've been trying to get this data from you. We've been on 3 calls like this, face-to-face on a video, helping walk you through these things. And we leave and you have a to-do list of things we need to get access to. You don't do it. And now you're mad at us because you don't have financial reports. Like, I don't I don't have enough bicep muscle to pull your head out of your ass. I'm not strong enough. I'm going to have to go get Brad. I got to go get Brad. That's the only way I know is the guy that's strong enough that can pull your head out of your own ass.
I don't want any part of it.
It's just so funny, like how you can't, you lose some of those clients and you're like, that sucks. And also you're like, thank God. Right. I don't, and when it's B2C, it's a little bit worse because they don't all understand how a business works. And they're like, oh, you were only here for 2 hours and you charged me $300. It's like, I didn't charge you $300 for the time we were here. I charged you $300 for the 10 years that I've been doing this. And if you try to do it yourself, this is me right now with the dryer that has been not operational in my basement for the last 3 weeks because I'm trying to fix it myself. I surely could have saved a lot of time and a lot of money by hiring somebody, but I decided to learn how to take a dryer apart and replace the belt. And 3 belts later and 3 Amazon orders later, I'm ordering it again because I didn't get, like, the belt's just not right. I don't know if the part number on the dryer is wrong or the part number of the belt's wrong, but I got the wrong belt. but anyway, I digress.
And I was just thinking how much your wife must love not having a dryer, right?
She did comment tonight. She's like, it is kind of nice going to my folks' place on Monday to like see my folks and do some laundry at their house. Like, it's a good excuse.
You're welcome.
Folks. And it's just
that's what I aim. That's what you're here for, right? You're just trying to bring families together.
Yeah, and I'm just shooting for the sex appeal. Like, women like when you fix stuff and get all greasy and solve problems. So I'm just like, man, I gotta like. All I've been doing lately is hunting and fishing. I got to like work on my sex appeal. So I better break something and fix it 3 times.
Right.
So that's what I'm into. Yeah.
Babe, I'm going down to work on the dryer again.
Yeah. This dryer's a son of a gun. I just ordered another belt. You wouldn't believe the blower motor in there is so dusty.
Oh, man.
Don't worry about it. Your clothes are going to be so dry. Clothes. Get it off and dry there.
That's good.
So Grant, I want to hit on some of the develop. Let's get into mySalesman and like what it can do and how it got started in the fence space. But obviously, like that measurement technology and the ability to facilitate with clients goes beyond fencing. So take us into kind of like your background and your history in that software space and seeing different tools, and then kind of where your evolution goes into mySalesman.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've had a long road. My career path has been all software in different industries, different positions. I've kind of done a little bit of everything everywhere. I started out at BuilderTrend, which is more suited for like custom home builders, general construction, building. And it's kind of like one of those all-in-one softwares. I mean, scheduling, estimating, to-dos, daily logs, change orders, literally everything. I was more on the sales side there. Got a position.
It is a sweet software for like general contracting. Like I've worked with a couple guys in our bookkeeping business that had it, and it was a nifty tool.
It's a great product. I'd say it's probably best suited for like a small to mid-sized home building company for the features that it has and how all-encompassing it is. I mean, you can literally run your entire company through that. And I mean, there's every type of company that uses it. They have clients in almost every industry, whether it's a great fit or not, people use it.
Yeah.
And that goes with almost every kind of software that is all in one like that. You'll find people that are trying to fit a square into a circle and they'll make it work.
Dog grooming. Interesting. Let's see what we can do for you. All right, here we
go. I talked to a company when I was there, and it was a boat and dock company, and they signed up.
Hey, building docks, you got some lumber, you got some pilings, you got to move some water around. I can see it.
Yeah.
You got build. You're building trendy things. Docks the technology in docks is crazy these days.
Yeah. I mean, internally that software it's pretty cumbersome. Like it's very highly detailed. And I was kind of racking my brain trying to find out how they're going to use it efficiently, but they made it work. So, but yeah, then from there, I ended up hopping over. I was the head of sales for a different fencing software. So I got really acclimated with the fence industry, which was where I met Matt.
So you're on you were on the opponent's team. You were playing for the bad guys.
We don't say their name.
No. Yeah, no. Yep. I got a position at a different fence software. I was heading the sales operation there, and then I did actually work with Matt's daughter at Buildertrend. She was on my team, and then I met Matt. We were on a software kind of business technology panel at a really. He's a very well-respected consultant in the fencing industry. He's the old president of the AFA, which is the American Fence Association. But we had a few beers, chatted it up, kind of connected the dots of we know each other. And I've always had so much respect for Matt, and Brad can attest to this. I mean, you heard him talk about Matt. He's just an awesome guy. Always had tons of respect for him. So when I had the opportunity to come onto his team, I was thrilled. And moment I stepped on to campus over in Waverly, Nebraska, I was sold. The gals, Rachel and Kelsey, are great. Everybody there just makes you feel like family. It's an awesome environment to work in.
Is Waverly a suburb of Noir or the other way around? I don't know my Nebraska geography. I assume it's either beautiful between Lincoln and Omaha or Omaha and Lincoln.
Right in the middle. Right in the middle. It's a beautiful town right in between the both of them. Yeah, I figured it was. I'm from Omaha, so
Brad, you got
an aberration. There's an aberration happening behind me. You see what happens when we leave our internet on.
Dude, your internet does get. I'd say it's squirrely, but it's not. That's not
that internet operator must be sleeping on the panel right now.
I told you, man. I told you it gets crazy. It totally gets crazy. Sometime we'll have to get you hooked up with Matt to tell the story of how mySalesman started, and I won't even attempt to. But if you spend any time around him, that like he's not afraid to bring a wild vision to life. Mm-hmm. And like the things that their company is doing and taking on, like revolutionizing, their space. But mySalesman started, and Grant may have better details than I do, but it started super early on, like in the journey of like the fencing business that they were doing was still in its very early days. And Matt was like, we need a way to pre-qualify our leads. And just went out and like, who does that? And especially, maybe today it's a little easier to like start technology stuff, but 10, 12 years ago, mySalesman, when did it start in 2012? Is that right, Grant? It's sometime at that time frame. Over it was harder to start a software company 12 years ago.
Big time. Yeah. The world,
and like, and a lot different. And so to think like they were still early in where they were at, but he saw that there was an opportunity for this. And I think that's like one of the most inspiring things. It is it's a grassroots started company that has proven its worth over a very long period of trial and test, and serving the community that it came from. Like it is a by contractor for contractor, kind of service. And I find that so cool because it's like, this is not some, and I know that happens in the service industry and the contractor industry. People, they see a problem and they go fix it. And this is one of those cases. It was like, I'm experiencing this problem. I'm going to make the solution. And I think it would help some other people.
That's totally how Matt is too. Like he's a servant of the industry. He would take the shirt off his back for anybody and give it to him if they needed it. But yeah, that's virtually how it started. Is he's a fence contractor and was tired of driving out to dead end leads and tire kickers. So he made the pre-qualification instant budget tool, gives the potential customer a link. They find it on your website, get instant quote. They go out they type in the job address, draw it out. Then there's a back end catalog that you set up of your products, or for Wash would be services. And it gives you an instant quote based on a dollar amount and then a percentage that you set. So you're not giving your actual prices, but sends an email to you, the contractor, and the potential customer, so that you both know what they're looking for and if it's something that you want to do. And also warms up that initial sales engagement. Just makes it a lot warmer conversation when you have that first conversation.
Does the customer have to? So let's say I'm online and I'm like, I need to put a fence in, or I need to get a roof wash or whatever, and I start measure. I was looking online. There's like a measurement tool aspect to it, and we'll get into some of the other industries you serve. If the customer's like, oh man, I don't know, like I need to talk to somebody because I'm hung up on should I go this way or should I go that way, and is there a way to because you run, I suppose, especially with fencing, it's like, well, I thought maybe I'd do this, but now that I'm looking, like, would it make sense to go over here? Should I go over there? Do I need 2 fences? Like, we have 2 fences in our yard. We got a fence, like a big wooden fence, and then we put a chain link fence around our pool area so we can see into the pool from wherever we are in the backyard. We didn't want to have that like totally walled off, but we want to have I want to skinny dip every once in a while, you know, geez Louise. So I had the big fence along the outside. But is there an intermediate process where a customer can be like dabbling with it and be like, oh shit, what do I do? Grant, help. How does the interaction work as they're filling that sort of thing out? Is it they finish it, reach out to them, or can they tap you along the way?
Yeah. So, I mean, the phone's never off. And the beautiful part about the product is we're like Brad said, we're not trying to take away the customer engagement. We're not trying to take away the handshakes. Yeah. This is an avenue. This is just one more avenue for a potential customer to find you and to get more information from you. One of the there's so many features within it, but one of them is called the drop-off report. So typically, if somebody has questions, they'll look up your phone number, they'll call you. Within mySalesman, if they start the budget or they start a project and then they don't finish it and they close out of it, they'll actually fall into a bucket on the back end, which is it collects all the data and analytics that they fill in. So basically, it's called a drop-off report. It'll tell you how far along the process they got, what they were looking for, and when they dropped off. And it'll have all the contact information that they entered
so
right
you can
when they
reach
came
out
to
and be
it.
like, hey, I saw you got this far and maybe you got distracted with your 4-year-old running around with a flamethrower. Exactly
that. And then, I mean, you could reach out to them as the contractor getting the information. More oftentimes than not, if it's a good customer and they're in the market and really looking, they'll give you a call. And if it's after hours, you come in the next day and you've got 3 or 4 jobs lined up that you can just call, and then they obviously are on board with it because they finished the entire thing and saw the price range that you have set. So
can they buy? Can they buy right from it and say, yep, take my credit card, let's do this thing? Or is there always a feedback loop so that you talk to them before the final phase purchase step?
No, yeah, it's not necessarily going to change your sales process. I'd say 95% of the time, you're still going to go out, you're still going to take a look at it. I mean, there's some features within it where you can see like a street view. You can literally look at the property straight from the application, but there's always variables that pop up. There's always something that is a little bit different that might cost a little bit more, which is why you give that range. It kind of gives you a little bit of grace going out there, because if you do run into something unexpected, you got yourself covered. And don't ever want to take away that handshake if it's wanted. The personal connections throughout that sales process in any of these industries is super important, in my opinion, and never want to take that away. But to answer your question bluntly, there's typically not a way like internally to like sign contracts and stuff. If you guys came to an agreement over the phone, perfect. But
cool. Yeah.
Well, you think about with especially like with a higher ticket item like a fence. I mean, there's a good chance that what the customer has drawn online or done,
you're gonna want to give them some feedback.
May still need a little feedback, for one reason or another. One of the things, Grant, you didn't mention that I've kind of heard, and tell me to shut up whenever. Was I've talked to a lot of contractors, and what they also do with this is the admin or the front desk people at the business use this as a tool to get customers information who call in, and so it's like, especially somebody, maybe they're 75, 80 years old, they're not going on the website to use a tool, and they call in and the front desk person will pull the software up, ask them questions, create the budget, and send it to them. And so either way, you can still get the information into a customer's hands before a salesperson can get to the job, which is where you get that advantage, right? Mm-hmm. So, it's like maybe it's going to be tomorrow before the salesperson can get out there, but you've got information in their hands, which gives you an advantage in case, that way you're not getting beat to the job, right? Yeah. So, and it also puts that kind of that power back in. Maybe the admin person wouldn't want to normally price a job, but this tool kind of gives them something that they can get, something that people can see and touch and feel, and it feels like the beginnings of a process. So I think there is that like internal and customer facing use case. And that's just from, I think what I've talking to different customers. I mean, do you find that to be true, Grant?
1,000,000%. Yeah. There's actually an amazing amount of fence companies that have made it a part of their process. Like they basically tell the potential customer that calls in, go to our website, fill this out, go through it, collects all their information, and they actually kind of utilize it as like a backend, like a little bit of a CRM almost. There's statuses that you can flip through. I mean, contacted, received, quoted, scheduled appointment, and then you can basically work through a whole nother business of leads that you would have never had, opposed to just people calling in when you're there in the office able to answer the phone.
Does it integrate with any CRMs that if it gets to the point where somebody says, yeah, I like the design, I like the plan, I like the price, hit the button and set it up, will it dump into a CRM to like build the project out there, or do you have to do it that manually?
Yeah, we have a few that we have direct integrations with. We actually have been discussing implementing like a Zapier integration so that you can kind of get a little bit more of an open API feel and connect to the things that you do use. We do directly connect
work on this Service Monster integration.
Yeah, I might have to talk to them. I would not
just click the QR code and you can talk directly.
Yeah. I'm gonna get that on there quick. But I mean, so like our back-end sales with our demos, we use Job Nimbus, which is primarily originally a roofing software. They're kind of going to be moving in a little bit different directions in the different spaces. But basically, whenever somebody pops in from going through the demo, which is like a contractor site, that would be a user, it automatically creates a contact within the CRM. And then you can just work it normally like you would any other lead that you'd manually input as somebody calls in on the phone. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of exciting things in the works. We're really thinking about broadening those horizons, but we do have about 4 or 5 direct integrations with some CRMs.
Sweet. What take me through the industries you guys serve, because obviously you started with fencing, we know that, but now you're getting into pressure washing in some other spaces. What industries do you have some tools built for? Any new tools coming for those industries, and any other industries that you're willing to talk about that you're getting into and testing some waters with?
Absolutely. Yeah. So we started in fencing. We now are offering roofing, decking, and fence. And then I actually just drafted up a mock product for synthetic turf installation, which is probably going to be hitting the development side of things very shortly.
When you talk about roofing, is it just roof installs, or do like roof washing or siding washing, or is there any other like pressure washing stuff that you guys mess with as well?
Yeah, no, I have a really good relationship with a rejuvenation company as well. Yeah. So that space is, we have clients within that space. But on the back end, like I mentioned earlier, like it's completely customizable. So whatever services or products that you want to offer, it's just a drop down where basically they draw it out and then it gives them selection. So do you want to remove and replace, or repair your roof based on where they drew it out? And then products, heights, pitch, and then the entire budget comes out with the pricing in the back end and that percentage range that you set. And you can throw anything that you want to offer, whether it be a service or product, in that back end for them to select from.
Do you find there's a percentage range that you recommend as far as like, if it's too big, you don't get an action from people because it's too vague, but if it's too precise, it ends up like making a promise that you can't necessarily keep? Do you guys have an idea of where a sweet spot is from a range to give?
I think it's industry specific. It depends on how high dollar the jobs you're talking. I'd say like typically like 5 to 20%, based on the industry. Are you guys getting feedback?
I'm totally getting feedback. Where's that coming from? Brad, is that your cat? Is it your internet?
I don't hear it. It could be the internet again. I told you, we're in that danger zone here. So
yeah. I'd say not low enough to where it's unrealistic, and not high enough to scare them, but just enough to have that great. I mean, 5 to 15 or 10% to 20%. It really just depends on. I'd say it really depends on the industry and kind of the average dollar amount, because 20% on a huge roof is much more considerable than driveway wash or house wash. So there's no right or wrong answer. Things like I always tell people when I'm setting people up, go through and draw a couple projects up, and whatever you would typically price that, just find a range where it falls into something that you'd want to represent that project as.
Yeah. And it feels like you're creating some sort of buffer for clients that don't understand how the world works. Like that, it feels like you could pinpoint it if people understood how the world works, but you're trying to be like, yeah, but Mrs. Jones might like cut off the corners of her roof or not understand how to click around on a computer screen. And so we're also putting in a dummy factor of we don't trust your ability to actually click and measure something.
Yeah. And I mean, realistically, like, especially on the fence side, like you go out there and there's 5 tree stumps in the way where they drew it out. You wouldn't know that until you got out there. Yeah. But yeah, it's just a little bit of a grace period. And like realistically, the people that are coming to that link, they're not going to be your repeat customers that know what's going on, that know your pricing, or maybe they've never even had the service done before. The people that are looking online are the people that have no clue what's going on, and they're poking around and they found you and they're going to your link and they just want some sort of idea of what this is going to cost me because they probably have no clue.
Do you, right now, everything is, from the sounds of it, everything is like a one-time in general or repeats only every few years. Have you guys considered or explored things like lawn maintenance or maid service or anything else that's like a measurable price subset like that, but it ends up being recurring in nature? Have you messed with that, or do you have any plans to mess with that sort of stuff?
I mean, I've personally dove into some thought on it. I'm just trying to figure out ways that we could implement the tools that we have now toward that. I mean, especially in those industries or services that you just mentioned, it's kind of hard to find a measurable that would end up in some sort of calculation of understanding, if that makes sense. Like for the housemaids, it's like, I mean, you could base it off the square footage of the house, but you don't know how, like, there's a lot of other factors in there that would make it really difficult to make it make sense in a way that would be super helpful.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like, even if you had a measurement tool, how many stories is it? And then you're counting on the customer to know the square footage of their house or be accurate about what their estimation of the square footage of their house is.
Don't get me wrong. I think there's definitely, I'm sure with some brain power that we could come up with something pretty sweet, but
well, and Grant, stop me if I'm saying too much, which is super possible. We're well into the danger zone here.
For everyone listening, it's past Brad's bedtime. So
I get to be quite a loose cannon past 10 o'clock.
Well, Grant and I are drinking beer and you're tired. So I think we're all in the same.
That's right.
We're good. We're doing good.
But so like with the roof portion of the software, there is actually a tool that you actually just bring the cursor over top of the roof and it's pulling data to get the accurate size of the roof. And the data that it's pulling would also in that location would have bedrooms, bathrooms, square footage, floors available to it. So if there were a measurable that was really helpful and it could auto calculate that for, and I don't know what the percentage is right now. The data is not 100% complete because obviously the network across the country that pulls all that data, it's not 100% tied in together. And there are areas that are more or less tied in
from a bunch of different places, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, with the aerial images and like GIS and everything.
But with that, there are some really cool capabilities that could be dove into. I think, the thing that, bringing this is, Matt and I've had conversations for the past 3 years as it's been gearing up to bring it into pressure washing, is making sure that just like in the fence industry, where the details of the difference beyond the measurement tool, right? The measurement tool can be adapted a lot of different ways. The process of buying fits a lot of different industries. But where I think there's a lot of desire to get it right is the details of how to best make it work for those contractors, right? So like the process a pressure washer would use is different than a fence contractor. It's a little bit different of a purchase. It's a little bit different of a process, and I think there's a real commitment to dialing all of that in, and getting all of them, really where it is a huge win for the contractors the whole time. And so that's an ongoing thing. And so, I know there's a lot of excitement, and again, I'm way out of turn here. There's a lot of excitement to go to new industries, and those conversations, like I've been a party to some of them. I'm sure Grant knows things I don't know. There is also a commitment to the service to the places that we're in, and we're super excited to be in the pressure washing space. And Matt and I've been talking about this for years because I think it's such a cool tool for this. I mean, when you think about the price point for it to be a tool where people can get their pricing so easy, and this doesn't have to be some crazy thing to build out and some crazy thing for customers to use. It's very simple. I think it just fits the market. I think it might fit better than fence.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there is that, like, we really want to help the contractors win with it. And we know that that's like, there's constant evolution. Like nothing like this is ever static, right? It's this constant evolution. So I know that there's a real commitment to getting that right, in roofing and the roof replacement, and then also in the pressure washing space. And then, deck is very much tied in. It's very similar to, fencing in my mind. And Grant would probably be like, no, it's not, but it's a very small industry. But it's like with the pressure washing, like there's a tool in there where the client can select whether it's a vertical surface, it's flat work, or they're measuring the roof. Having the right things in there and making sure that it's getting, the right pricing information, back to the client, so that it is a win for everybody.
Yeah. That's where I was thinking, like recurring services are really interesting because it's the price is lower, but just keep like lawn maintenance. It's going to keep happening forever. People are going to be putting robots out. It's going to become a distribution business, right? It's already starting to turn into that instead of a human-based business. Weird tangent. Side note. Jim Penman, who I was talking to last night, is literally in the final stages of writing a book on the detriment of the decreasing birth rate. He has 10 kids. He was like applauding me for having 3. He was like, way to go. Like, this is going to be a real problem. And I was like, I don't know. Like, I get why you would draw a conclusion that it's a problem because Social Security and we need to like pay for people that are exiting the workforce. But we have so much technology to replace those jobs that I think the timing is actually hilariously perfect, because the flip side of that is we're like,
that's a good point.
We ain't going to have any damn jobs left because we're all creating technology that displaces human labor. Like McDonald's could fire all their employees in the stores tomorrow, right? They don't, but they could. It would be real bad press. They're like ready to. So like, and like, there's a Taco Bell in our town here that has 0 employees. It has 0 employees. Like Taco Bell can run with 0 employees. And so I'm like,
that's insane. That is totally insane.
It's nuts.
That is wild.
But like engineers will be prevalent, right? And software people are going to be prevalent, but we'll have to re-educate for sure. But there's going to be less jobs available because technology displaces some. So it's weird that it's like coinciding with the baby boomers phasing out and like a decreased birth rate. Anyway, it seems to me there's things that aren't going to go away. Lawn care ain't going to go away. Our grass is going to keep growing, or it's going to get replaced with turf, but not everywhere.
Yeah.
Maybe more gardening instead of lawn care, but like we still are going to like beautiful things, right? We're still going to like green stuff instead of brown stuff. And so it might change how that service gets delivered, but it's always going to need to get measured because a robot's going to have to go there and it's still going to have a rate of pay based on some sort of square footage measurement or whatever.
Somebody's got to fix the robots too, man. Like, let's just be real. Chase down the runaway ones, the injuries, there's
gonna be a vet on staff for when it runs over a dog or something like that. We're gonna have a vet handy for amputations, whatever it is. Maid service is the one where I'm like, I don't know how, like, that's gonna have to be one tight moving robot to replace a home cleaner. I've cleaned houses and I break stuff all over the place. I have pretty good coordination, and I ran a maid service business, and like it's so nuanced and so finicky that there's always like, but and we actually we just used square footage. We didn't have any other variables because it confused people. It was like, how many bathrooms, how many bedrooms, how many pets, how many kids, whatever. We'll just charge you like you have all of them. Like set a price to afford, just like processing fees, right? Like we can pass through merchant processing fees, but I'm just going to price you as if you pay with me with the credit card, whether you pay me with the credit card or not. I'm just going to build it into the price so you don't have to think about it. Pay me however you want to pay me. But it made sense.
I bet it would work. Yeah. I mean, that's personal. Like we like, to Brad's point, we have been very much looking more inward and focusing and being excited about where we're at. We're not, I mean, I wouldn't say that collectively we're like looking to branch out into more verticals, but more so perfecting the ones that we're in and making them as efficient and best as possible where we're at.
Yeah.
So Dan, like you so spurred a train of thought for me. So I have to follow up on this. I think that even if it's mathematically true, the thing that is concerning to me is anytime I get near an industry that relies on skilled technical work, they are terrified about what they're going to do in 5 or 10 years because their workforce, their technicians are the average age. Nikki, what's the average age of the technicians? They're like 50 plus, 55 plus is the average age of the technicians that work on our transformers. And AI and robots are not taking over that. And if they go down, the AI goes down, the robots go down, the everything goes down. And we have this, our grid is.
I bet the AI has already solved that one. Right. Think about the Matrix. The AI has already figured that out. They've got their own systems.
Except the reality is that our power grid is completely aged out. It was all put in the 60s, and it all had like a 60 to 70 year service life. And we're 80 years, like since a lot of it was put in. And so it is like on the other end of aged out, and there's not like readily available replacement. Like there's years of waiting periods for power transformers. So there is a huge reliance on this group of people that have this extremely unique knowledge to work on these very dangerous, very unique
what that
machinery.
Sounds like, though? You know what it sounds like is somebody's going to figure out a different way to transfer power. Not me.
It is such I think the thing is, Dan, is like it's really easy because I think we get these like we see the fancy stuff that's in the limelight and the Silicon Valley and the Teslas of the world. But the truth is there's still so many things that move like dinosaurs. The industries move like dinosaurs. They're encumbered. They're so fragmented across the country. There isn't like a cohesive like unit that's like making a decision for everybody. Like the people that own this equipment, it's this huge number of entities that own this equipment, and they think like it was 50 years ago. And so it's like, and that's just one thing.
I mean, they're running businesses that were behemoths 50 years ago. And so they still have those processes and those people. And that's the mindset.
And the same thing I think is true, whether it's like it's welding or any of these other technicians. And I think the thing is like, we're not training people to do that. And it is the workforce situation in 10 years, you have this huge number of jobs that need to be filled by the people whose menial jobs are going to be taken over by automation. Mm-hmm. But nobody's getting trained to do it. And so I don't think that we're in the clear. I think we're in a situation where we're going to feel some pain. There's going to be like a desperation for something that takes that like you have to apprentice at, right? You have to work at for a few years to be good at. And then like a whole bunch of people that don't have jobs because they don't know how to do anything that can't be easily replaced. Yeah. And like the people that I think solve that, I think that's a massive opportunity. And I think it's marketing. I think it's training. I think it's a whole lot of things. I mean, it could, that ways that could be done. But to me, that is one of the more like exciting things. Like if you wanted to tackle a huge problem right now, it's like, how do we take this young workforce who is doing things that are going to be replaced? And knowledge work is one of the things that is in danger that we thought would never be in danger, mm-hmm. and actually put it over towards some of these skilled technical jobs that are still a long ways away from being totally replaced. So like I just did a project for a company that makes pile driving hammers. There's nothing about that's going to be replaced by AI in the near future. for many, 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 many decades. This is a bunch of guys that have a very specific, very innate knowledge that know how to handle extremely dangerous machines, and they still build the freaking world.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know about it because who knows what a pile driving hammer looks like or how it works or any of that stuff. And yet
I'm just picturing a really big dude. I'm picturing Brad Williams, 12 feet tall, with just a big hammer. Just go.
Well, so like these hammers are like 30 feet tall. They have a 10,000 pound ram in them. This is the old school kind, the ones that make our bridges for our highways and stuff. And they set these things up and like they go bang, bang. They set them on fire. They're diesel powered. So it's like a giant diesel 2-stroke. It sends a piston that weighs 10,000 pounds.
Yeah.
And like there's somebody down there saying like when it hits the thing so many times and it doesn't move but so much, turn the thing off, cut the fuel on it. But the thing is like this stuff underpins the basis of everything. And it's something that I didn't know about until I started working with them. I didn't know a thing about it. I mean, now I'm like, oh, I heard one of those near my house that went on for a couple of weeks without stopping. Yeah. And, but at the same time, it's like, who's getting trained to do that? Who's learning how to do this kind of stuff? Make them, design them, do the construction work. Who's learning how to do that? Because they're all like, I can't get a job at McDonald's. McDonald's doesn't need me anymore. The AI runs it. So I'm gonna sit at home. And I think that's the problem that concerns me. So I apologize for the tangent, but you brought it up, Dan.
No, I think the only problem that concerns me is that the government always seems more likely to pay people not to work than to pay people to work. And I think if the government has one role, it's to help people find those jobs. Like the government's role is to figure out, here's the things that we're going to need.
Incentivize it.
And you're going to get exited from these roles and you need to go these roles. Not to offer a bunch of bullshit unemployment to get people to sit at home. We need to offer them employment to go learn a thing and be useful to the rest of us. That's what we all have.
Universal basic income isn't going to fix everything? Have they been telling you things that aren't true?
That'd be a great end to everything. Like here,
I'm not counting anything out.
Yeah.
I'm getting the red flag, the siren over here. Like we have exited the mySalesman conversation, and we've crossed into dangerous territory.
We've entered the fifth dimension.
Yeah, once you hit the 1 hour to 2 hour mark on the show, anything is game. Usually the first hour is cordial and PC. The second hour, who knows what's going to happen? Could be anything. But no, Chad says robots are cutting grass nowadays, and I think that labor is going to get displaced. We got to have those guys putting some bridge pilings in, is what we got to have.
Well, that's I think. So.
Well, but maybe not. But maybe not. Like bridges are going to get phased out when we're all flying our vehicles instead of.
They've been saying that since like the 50s, in the great rocket age, that we're all going to be in flying cars in 10 or 15 years, and. At this moment, we cannot figure out a reasonable version of an electric car that can drive more than a couple hundred miles, and it doesn't cost more to the environment and the owners.
I was gonna say that's the funny thing is like this is environmentally friendly as we dig up the earth in the worst places to get these like precious metals that we. Then
how many people have to die for these rare earth elements to be going these days? And the thing is, like Volvo did a study on this. And they basically came up with that with a Volvo car, so a Volvo electric versus a Volvo, and their gasoline stuff's pretty efficient, right? Mm-hmm. Like all their stuff is pretty safe, pretty efficient. Sweden's a very clean country.
They're reputable.
And they determined that it takes 90,000 miles of driving before you get to the break-even point between the environmental damage it costs to build the electric car before it's break even with a gas car. Same car, different engine, right?
Yeah, that's wild.
And then it's like, how long do the batteries last after that? Because the batteries in my drill and the batteries and everything on the batteries in my computer,
battery, and then you got
they all get kind of wonky, right? They all get kind of wonky. I'm thinking, so a 6-year-old battery. Oh yeah, that's going to be super awesome. You'll get to the supermarket and you're gonna be like, I can't get home. It used to run for a while, but not anymore.
We're pushing it.
Sorry, this is another. You guys are just So
better park at the charging port.
Sorry, Nikki, I started it. It was me. Oh, she can't hear me because you got the headphones.
She can't.
This is my fault.
She can't hear.
Hi, Dan.
What's up? Tell her I said, what's up? You got to say it like I said it too. What's up?
What's up?
Yeah, there you go.
That was from Dan.
Yeah, you did good. That sounded like something I would say.
Well, I got practice with the whole voice acting thing with Unhinged. And by the way, if you haven't checked out Unhinged yet,
dude, it's so good, man.
Yeah,
what's the prognosis on a season 2? You said you were maybe
we're working very hard on getting that out of incubation. We have a lot of ideas out there. We have some sponsorship lined up. It's a big endeavor.
Do you need me to talk to General Mills and see if we can get an Old Slab sponsorship?
I'm telling you, if you could pull that off, I will. I think we could work out a spot for you in the show. Your voice acting debut. So we'll talk offline and see if we can.
That sounds pretty scary for everybody involved. Mostly for General Mills. It sounds like General Mills would be the loser. Everybody else would win.
Yeah. So yeah, it's in the pipeline. It's in the works. I wish these things moved quicker, but very hopeful that we'll get that second season out. That this year is kind of the plan. It does take about 6 months to produce it, even once we get we're full steam ahead. So it's one of those. So Dan, I figured out it's about 18 man hours per minute of produced content on Unhinged.
Oh, damn. That's crazy. Yeah. That is a crazy metric.
Yeah. So I did that calculation and I was like, oh.
Yeah. This season we're shooting for 10. We're shooting for 10 hours per minute.
So, well, cool guys. I hate to cut out. You guys don't let me end the show or anything, but my internet really is on the fritz here.
No, we got you. I hear you. Well, and Nikki's obviously yelling at you too. So now you're getting yelled at from multiple people. So
I am. I'm monkey in the middle.
Yeah, I got you. Well, thanks for hanging out, Brad. As always, keep us posted on Unhinged season 2, and maybe if I stumble across a bonus DVD of the double platinum special bonus edition DVD platinum episode 5 of the More Shasters, I'll send you a DVD.
Yeah, I don't know if I have a DVD player, but man, I think
you'll figure it out.
Entertaining.
You'll figure it out. It'll be worth going and buying a DVD player. You can probably pick them up for $10 nowadays. It'd be worth scooping one up. At
for
Goodwill.
I for sure, absolutely for sure. Well, Dan, let's catch up soon, man. Let's. I know too much time goes by when we talk, but thanks, guys. Hope you all have a great rest of your evening. I'm gonna bounce.
See you, bud.
See ya.
See you, Brad.
So Grant, as we depart Brad here, what's on the docket for you? What are you working on right now that the people are using and that's exciting to you?
Yeah, I mean, I've been spearheading getting the new industries off the ground. So it's been all hands on deck. I'm really looking forward to going to my first wash show this year. I think I'm planning on going to the Huge.
Are you going to go to the Huge?
Yeah, and what recommendations do you have? I mean, what ones do you typically go to? What ones do you think are the best?
So I like all the shows at the home service workshop, but I'm curious. This is like the first time I've seen it all wrapped into one, and it's in about a month and a half down in Orlando. So I'm super intrigued by that one because the springtime is goofy. Everybody's excited to kick things off and implement new things. But they're also broke. Everybody's broke because they all go through this winter lull, and then that's when cash is shortest. So it's a weird timing. Mm-hmm. It's a good timing to have a show because it's this escalation into the new season. But it's also everybody's man, if I gotta start my season, I gotta go get to work. But I'm super intrigued by the combination of shows that are there. So I'm super pumped for that one. The Huge, the last couple of years, I feel like has gone a little bit downhill, but I think I don't know if it's a thing they've been doing or the nature of conventions in general. There was a huge arc before COVID and then a huge fall during COVID. And then right after COVID, conventions went crazy because everybody just was excited to get back in person. Mm-hmm. And then there was a hangover from it. And so I think the Huge is experiencing some of that hangover. And I didn't go this last year. being a dynamite, like not dynamite, a diehard. I'm far from dynamite. I suck. But I'm a diehard bow hunter, and it's always when bow hunting starts. And so it ends up being a conflict of like, hey, wife, I'm leaving to go to a show, and then I'm going to get back and I'm going to leave to go out hunting. And so you're not going to see me forever. So I
pick and choose your battles.
Yeah, I've gone for years in a row. And it's also not a place. I'm a bookkeeper. Nobody buys bookkeeping at that convention. It's not their fault. It's just not the timing. People in August, people aren't like, I need to get my books in order. They're like, I need to make the most of my fall season. I'll worry about bookkeeping in January when I have nothing else to do. So it's also not a prime time for the services that I offer. It's fun. I love it. I love to Brad's point. It's more about the relationships, but if there's a timing element to it, I'd rather talk to people in the springtime because that's when they're thinking about their finances and they're like, I got to get this right for this year and I got to get my taxes done and whatever. And so I like to go to the ones in the springtime a little bit more because the thing that I have is the shit they need when in August they're like, oh yeah, I can wait on your stuff. I got a business to run. I don't need your stuff right now. But the Huge is a fun one. I heard it wasn't as awesome this last year, but I don't know why. Like I said, I wasn't there. That was just what I heard. But I think it's
Is it in Nashville every year?
It has been the last 2 years. It has been the last 3 years now, I think, at the Opryland hotel there. Cool. And I think that's probably part of why it hasn't been as successful is like people like to move around and see new places and see new things. One of my favorite huge conventions was in Branson, of all places.
Wow.
And so it's kind of fun when it bounces around and you get and it'll draw a different crowd in different places too. And so I think
why was Branson your favorite?
Just it was a lot of people. The venue was right. It was big enough. You like moved around enough so you got to see everybody, but we were all in one spot and it was like you knew there were other places to go, but you also knew where people were going to be. There was like a bar to go to, and that was where you ended up hanging out. The problem with the Gaylord is it's so huge. There's not a place where you're going to run into people. Like you pass people within a mile inside of the hotel. You're like, hey! You're like yelling to people, hey! And then it's like,
those places are nuts.
I don't even know how to get over to where you are. It feels like you're and so I think it's like it's too big, it's too segregated, and it doesn't. There's a value in feeling like your convention owns the hotel and that you can do whatever you want. When you're at the Gaylord, you're like, man, I don't want to do anything stupid here. There's a bunch of people here that I don't know, and I don't even know if they're part of the convention. They're probably part of like one of the 8 other conventions that are here. I don't even know I don't even know who to say hi to. I don't know if they're in my convention or some other convention. So I think they're fighting that battle. But historically, it's been one of the better, bigger shows for sure. Yeah. Nikki says, now Nikki's in. Nikki, why don't you jump in? Put Brad to bed. Nikki, you come back in. Grant and I hang out. Nikki said, I'm seeing in-person conferences are doing great if they focus on making it meaningful and not a sales commercial. And I do think to her point, again, this is just hearsay because I wasn't at the last huge convention, but my understanding was it felt like they were always just up there trying to sell something. And I think there's a risk in conventions of when they make it about them making money. Like if it stops being about them adding value, and I get like they need to make money, or why the hell would they hold a convention? They're a lot of fucking work. I don't know if you've ever held an event, like it's a ton of work. So they have to make money. But if you make it all about that, you lose the thing that Disney has, right? Like Disney costs a shitload of money, but when you're there, it's not about the money. It's about the experience, and they flood you with it. Like you can't get away from it. When you leave, you're like, you have this huge emotional letdown because you're like, man, I'm not at Disney anymore. Like it was just a miraculous thing. And now I'm into like back to the real world. And so if you lose that element, you lose the magic of it because it's just focused on the wrong thing. And so I think it maybe suffered a little bit from that of just like it got bigger than its britches a little bit. Sales Boost last year was my favorite show. It's like 200 people. And man, it felt like you were 1 in a million. like the way they treated the guests, the way they treated the speakers, the way they pulled everybody together and then broke us apart and pulled us together and fed us. And there was always a plan. You just felt like you were part of something cool versus like, hey, good luck eating. Like I mean, there was one time I was at the Huge and it was like, you don't know where to go. There's no food for you or anything. And I went down to like get a plate of food and it was $38. And I was like, fucking A, like, I don't want to really come back here. This sucks. Like I like to pay $3 for a beer. I'm from Wisconsin. I can't get a beer for single digits in the Gaylord. I'm running around and I do this anyway. I run around with my own cooler full of beer. I Instacart it in now because I'm not paying for their shitty beer when they have you held captive. It's a hotel. I'm bringing my own beer in. But it just like got bigger than I like it. So I'm curious to see how Sales Boost does this year. It's combining with other shows, but that was my favorite one last year. It was just super well done. And I know the people that run it, and so you get to I get a sneak peek of what they got going on. So we'll see. We'll see how that one goes. And I'm just curious to see how conventions in general do. I don't know if they're a barometer for the industries, but they for sure are like a barometer for the excitement of those industries. The more people getting into them and trying to learn stuff and get excited about it, the more people are attending those conventions and building those relationships. So I'll be curious to see what goes on with it this year. But I'd say if you had to bookend two of them, Home Service Workshop in a month and a half is a good one. Huge in the fall is a good one. It's like you get kind of one on each end of the season from a exterior cleaning space focus.
That's awesome. Yeah, it has been interesting too with my experience with mySalesman. I am involved with several different industries, so I've kind of got to see the different conventions and different industries in several different times. So it is amazing how many people can get pulled together when you find a convention that is there for the right reasons.
Yeah. And I think they all start for the right reasons. Kind of like Brad said, like just like Matt started mySalesman. It's like we started, and I got into bookkeeping this way. Is I ran some home service businesses. I happen to be an accounting nerd, and I did all of our books. And then a buddy was like, "Hey, who does your books? Like you got all these companies. Who keeps all that shit straight for you?" And I was like, "I do." He's like, "How do you know how to do all that?" Well, I did a fifth year in undergrad so I could go to the bar more. And then I did 3 years of a CFA program. So I hope I know accounting by now. He's like, "Can you fix mine?" And I was like, "Yeah, I guess. Like, send me your QuickBooks login and I'll figure it out." And then I fixed it. He's like, "Can you just keep doing it?" And I was like, "Oh shit. Like, what have I done? Now I got to like keep doing these guys' books." And then it turned into the best business I've ever grown. And it was just
created a monster.
Yeah, it was just a function of like, oh yeah, I forget not everybody knows accounting stuff, and I know accounting stuff and home service stuff. So I guess
that's super impressive.
I can be useful to people.
That's super impressive. What all industries do you work with?
So I've run and like been out cleaning, window cleaning, pressure washing, gutter cleaning, holiday lights, like the exterior scope. I grew up mowing lawns, as so many of us did. $20 a lawn. I wish I was like, part of me is like, man, I could have probably like scaled that from when I was 15, but instead I went to college and wasted a bunch of time and then worked in the corporate world for a decade and wasted a bunch of time.
Happens to the best of them.
And I've run a bunch of maid service companies. I started one from scratch and I was out scrubbing toilets all just whenever we needed to. Whenever you grow a business, you're always like the first line of defense. I remember taking my wife out, who was like, I think it was our second kiddo, and she was 5 months pregnant. We were like scrubbing toilets on Christmas Eve because we had to like clean some houses, and my top two cleaners were a married couple, and they both got sick, and like they were just calling in for fun. They were both puking. And so my wife and I are out like cleaning houses on Christmas Eve. Like, here we go. Welcome to business ownership. So I've run the home service types of businesses. But at the end of the day, like I went to school for accounting and finance. I'm just a numbers nerd. And it's helpful that I spent a decade running a bunch of home service companies. Just makes me more useful as a finance nerd. But the thing I like to do is work with other business owners. Like I can only impact so many people when I'm out cleaning their houses, but if I get to work with a few hundred business owners that run home cleaning companies or pressure washing companies or landscaping companies or whatever it is, then the impact ripples so much farther. So
yeah, there's a lot of beauty being on both sides of the desk, or have been. So
yeah. The only downside actually is I like to exercise and play sports, and now I sit on my ass all day. So I have like an hour and a half carved out in the middle of every day to like go out. Right now I don't go out for a run. It is -2. But I jump around in the basement. I got like barn mats for working out on. I have to like get off my ass and exercise. Otherwise, it's too easy to just sit here and keep working because the work never disappears. It's always right. I got 2 screens up here and the one down here, and there's always work on them. There's only work stuff.
It'll always be there.
Can't escape it. What's the trajectory like for you personally? Like at mySalesman, you've been there for half a year, a little longer than that now.
Yeah.
Where do you see the evolution of these new divisions going? Is it just the world is your oyster and you feel like you can keep taking it, or is it hey, let's maximize pressure washing and let's maximize decks and go as deep as possible? Where do you see the next 6 to 12 months going for you and what you're working on?
Realistically, I mean, it's going to probably require some team growth. I plan on building teams below me within each industry as fit and as needed. I mean, we just recently launched the additional industries. I mean, we did incredible amount of testing and everything. Everything's ready and firing on all cylinders. We have clients on all of the new industries as well. But yeah, we're ready to. I mean, I'm ready to hit the gas and learn as much as possible. I've been working with beta testers in each industry as well, getting all of the information that I need and want to make it as efficient as possible. So it's a really exciting spot to be in. Really, like we're firing on all cylinders and ready to go. So
how many people do you guys have at mySalesman? Like how many people are on the overall team?
So the family of companies, there's actually 6 companies within our kind of campus that we have. Matt's a serial entrepreneur. So all of the companies actually feed one another, and I'm incredibly impressed. I won't get into all that, but the direct team right now is me, Kelsey, and Rachel, and Matt. And Matt's more of the visionary. He's not always directly in the fire, but yep, that's the 3 amigos. There is our main team.
Hell yeah! What are the other? Obviously, there's a fencing business. What are the other 4 businesses besides mySalesman and I think the fencing business still exists, right? What else?
Oh yeah. It's fencing business. Yeah, that's a fine-tuned machine. It's an amazing company. They're doing great things over there. He's got ESC, which is a fabrication company that fabricates all of the poles and materials. Unlimited Sports Solutions, which it sells all of the equipment like sport like baseball poles, backstop, netting.
Oh,
He's got a patch, and then
I wouldn't think about that, but it's a bunch of the same stuff that you would use in fencing is what you would use in sports equipment. So
yeah, and guess who installs it?
Yeah, give me a hint.
Yeah, and he's got a full pad shop that they literally make all the padding. They've done padding for the Dallas Cowboys practice stadium. I mean, yeah, they have a whole netting division. I mean, it's incredible out there. I mean, it's like 2 miles of mat land. He's got he just got a powder coating company as well. That's going to be firing up soon.
He just can't help himself. He's one of those guys who just can't help himself.
He truly is Matt the Miracle. If he gets a good idea, he runs with it, and if he wants something, he gets it done.
Goes and gets it.
That's for sure.
We're pushing the hour 45 mark, so I suppose we should like think about wrapping up here. But I got a closing question. I always got to ask a closing question.
Yeah.
I always put constraints on it, and what's going through my mind is what constraints am I going to give you? let's say the homes, based on our conversation tonight, home services doesn't exist anymore. It is all run by AI. You don't even have to worry about it. But you still have to have a job or a business that pays the bills and hits your sweet spot of whatever the hell it is that Grant loves to go do. If tomorrow you woke up and that was the world you lived in, home services don't exist. It's not even a place you can own a business, work in a business, anything else like that. You got to go find something to do or create something to do. What are you going to go do?
I'm going to go be a fishing guide in Canada.
There you go. Well, and if it's that world, you're probably going to need to work on feeding some people. So I think that's a good bet. I think that's a good bet.
Yeah. It's the gift that keeps on giving, enjoyment and food. I think that would be it.
Man, I every night before I go to bed. Well, this time of year I watch a lot of fishing videos. Once it turns like July 4th, I start watching hunting videos and change my modus operandi. But have you ever checked out Jay Siemens? Have you tuned into Jay Siemens at all?
Name sounds super familiar.
So he's got a YouTube channel. He does some super fun competitions, but it's like he also has a kiddo and he's super kid friendly. So I feel like I can watch around my kids, whereas not every show I watch, I can watch around my kids. Puts on some real good fishing content. He's up in Canada, so he also catches a lot more fish than you and I ever will. But he does a super good job. And I tend to my strategy, because this is a challenge you have when you're working in a small business and like you're just ingrained in the thing that you're working on, is it's really hard to shut it off. And your brain doesn't want to turn it off, and you keep solving problems as you're trying to fall asleep, which leads you to not fall asleep. And I have found some people like to read a book, but it's really about like somebody telling you a story so your brain can go elsewhere. And as an outdoorsy guy, you might find it useful as well, which is if somebody's telling me a hunting fishing story, I can be there. Like up here, I'm there. I'm out. I'm casting that line. I'm setting that hook. I'm reeling and dealing, or I'm pulling my bow back, or whatever it is. It's the ultimate like checkout tool for an outdoorsman. And Jay does a good job. I think you just go check him out on YouTube.
I love that. Yeah, I love that.
I reached out to him actually, because one of the things I super enjoy doing on this show is talking to other outdoorsmen. So I do a business owner outdoorsy event, and we'll do like a pre-ice fishing event. And I do a Boundary Waters trip. I do an ice fishing trip. Do other fishing and hunting things. But I like getting business owners on to like talk about it before the trip and then like recap it after the trip. And there's just so many elements that overlap running a business and the challenges you face and how you integrate that with when you're doing outdoorsy stuff and you face challenges and you got to overcome it and the answers are uncertain and you're just randomly problem solving. You just got to make shit up because you got to get out there safe and get back to your family. And you're also trying to have fun. And it tends to be, you remember like the good days a little bit, but most of the time you tell stories about the bad days. Like those are the memories that stick with you. Like when I think about our Boundary Waters trip this last year, like we had a blast, but the times that stick out to me are I fainted the first night, damn near died. Could have landed on like a really jagged stump. I was just dehydrated, like super dehydrated, got up to take a leak and probably stood up too fast and just bam. Like my whole face messed up, just flat. And nobody got up to help me. They didn't know what the hell it was. They were probably all sleeping anyway. And then the hailstorm. We got smacked with a hailstorm when you're out in the middle of the wilderness and it's like hailing on you. It was like 20 minutes of hail off and on.
Are you guys tenting?
We're hammocking. We're in like camping hammocks. You like carry them and you still have a rain fly, but we were sitting on our couch with our big tarp city over the top, just watching the hail pour down. And then shortly thereafter, the other memory that sticks out is the four of us on a floating couch out out on the lake, because it's a floating couch. It's a blow up couch. So we floated it and we were all hanging out on there, floating around in the lake. And I just wish somebody would have paddled by. We were so remote that we saw with 5 days, we saw one other group of kayaks. That was it. But I wish they would have come by when we were floating around on a couch. Like,
sight to see.
How in the hell did those guys get a couch in here? It's quite the episode.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I think a fishing guide in Canada is a good answer. I feel like
might take my shot at the PGA too. I wouldn't mind being outside golfing every day. That'd be a good consolation.
That'd be all right. You just can't eat a golf ball. Just can't eat the golf ball.
No. How about you? What's your answer?
I've had. Do you bow hunt at all?
I have. I've shot a bow more than I've hunted with a bow. I didn't grow up in a hunting family. Okay. I have hunted, but it makes it a lot more difficult. Like I didn't have the background of the dad that had I didn't learn early on. I wasn't exposed to it, but I've tried it a few times and I not to get off on a tangent like Brad, my favorite part of that was like getting in the tree stand before the sun comes up.
Oh yeah, just watching the world come awake. Here,
it's like a National Geographic episode. Like I didn't even care. I had plenty of opportunities to shoot, and I just didn't.
Yeah,
I don't know. I was just enjoying that part of it. Like you'd hear that first branch snap, and then everything around you just start to wake up, and it's just such an amazing experience to watch everything come to life.
There's no other way to be out there. I mean, unless you're like a wildlife photographer, I don't think people hear hunting and they're like, oh, you're out killing stuff. It's like, no, I'm out watching animals and they're like behave how they actually behave. You just watch them when they're coming to eat at your bird feeder. That's not how they actually behave in the wild. Like I watch them fight each other, kill each other, have sex with each other, make a nest, make a home, wonder what the hell I am, which is always hilarious when you have squirrels like exploring you and you're like, oh my God, this gray squirrel's gonna like crawl over my face. Like, what's about to happen?
Yeah.
I've had owls attack me. That was crazy. Wow, it's like that was actually really freaking scary.
That's a crazy one.
That one scared me. It was like 5 yards away, talons out, coming right at my face.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, but by the end of it, I think he and I were equally scared. I still reflect. There was this whole sequence of thoughts, and I won't tell the whole story because it takes like 15 minutes. But at the end of it, he started flying towards me, and it was this quick succession of thoughts that went a little bit like, "Oh, cool, it's coming towards me." But like I never got a chance to finish that thought. Then it turned into, "Holy shit, it's coming right at me!" And before I got to finish that thought, it turned into like, "Oh, damn, it's coming for me." And then the last thought I had was, ugh. Like literally, there wasn't a breeze. And an owl doesn't make noise. I don't know if you've seen like a big ass owl can fly through the woods. There's not a peep, right? Turkeys fly through the woods, and you think trees are falling down. Like turkeys can't go through anything. Owls fly through, and they don't.
They're designed that way.
And this turkey, this owl's coming. I mean, it's a big gray owl, 5 foot wingspan, just massive. Eyes locked on me, and I bet it got to 5 yards from me, and I had my bow upright. I was just sitting on a ladder stand. I had my bow upright, and I just put it in front of my face and went, ugh. Like not a peep in the woods besides me going, ugh. Like I don't know what you do when an owl's got its talons out and it's coming for your face. Like was it trying to land on my bow? Was it going to eat my face? It saw me move, and we had an interaction where it did one of those like only a thing an owl can do, where they move their head and neck, and you're like, oh, it just saw me, and it's interested, and then I had that sequence of thoughts. But yeah, there's so many cool things. What was really funny is when we mutually scared the shit out of each other, it turned on a dime and flew about 5 yards away to the side of me, landed on a branch, and just looked back at me, and I looked at it, and we had this moment of like total understanding. And it went something like, what the fuck was that? Like, I think the bird was thinking that, and I was thinking that. I was like, holy smokes.
You guys are just kind of.
Yeah, it was a mutual respect. Good day now. Like, holy smokes, man. Like, I thought you were I didn't think you were going to do that. We just played chicken. I was like, I didn't think you were going to do that. But
that's wild.
So I had the guys from Tethered on who make hunting saddles, like a saddle setup where you're like roped in for bow hunting. Had those guys on, and I'd asked them a question about, how is it running a hunting company when you guys like to hunt? Doesn't that create a conflict, right? Like if you're a fishing guide and you like to fish, does that create a conflict? Because now you're always taking idiots out fishing instead of you getting to fish. And I grew up golfing a lot, and I always had that thought too of like, do I want to be really serious about golf, or would I just hate it? Like I think I would end up hating it.
That would be a fear for me too.
Like I was too competitive with myself. Like if I wasn't shooting like in the upper 30s to mid 30s, I'd be like, this sucks. I hate golf. I'm like, man, like I shot a 41. Most people would be thrilled with the 41, but to me that was 5 over, and that was a shitty day. And I'm in high school, and for some reason, like if I couldn't break 40, I was pissed. I was like, maybe I don't actually like golf. Like I think I do, but I'm like too high of expectations for my shitty skill set.
It can be mentally tormenting.
Which like, and that is golf in a nutshell. It is mentally tormenting, and now I'm just old enough to drink beer when I do it, so I don't have to care how I shoot. And every once in a while, I shoot well. But I think Ernie and Greg from Tethered had it really dialed in, because they're like, actually, being a manufacturer is perfect, because we got to make everything before the season starts, and when the season starts, we just got to test it. So we got to hunt a bunch. And I was like, oh damn! Like I could imagine if you were in like retail, it would suck because everybody's trying to buy stuff during hunting or fishing season, and you don't actually get to go hunting or fishing. But being in manufacturing, your deadlines are way before the season. So by the time the season comes, that's all you get to do. You got to go test some gear.
There's a thought.
These guys are onto something. So I'd have to find something to manufacture. I don't know exactly what it'd be. Might be some hunting, might be some fishing, but I think I'd get into some manufacturing stuff of a sport that I love to play, so that I got to build it before the season and then play it and test it all out during the season. I like where they're coming from with that.
That's very insightful.
I didn't come up with that. I just learned it from them. I didn't come up with it.
Hey,
learning from those guys. Just good listener. Just listen.
That's awesome.
For once, my wife would not agree that I'm a good listener, but I did. That one time I was like, this is actually good. They got a good one. Well, Grant, I appreciate you hanging out, man. Thanks
for having me on, Dan. I appreciate it.
Good luck taking it to the next level at mySalesman. Keep us posted as you guys, especially as you start. We have a lot of listeners that do the pressure washing thing. So as you guys keep developing that, you got an open microphone here. Come on anytime. Show us the cool stuff you're doing, any new industries you get into. Love to hear about it. Love supporting you guys. And make sure Brad gets that season 2 of Unhinged done. Like hold his ass to the fire. We got to get season 2 out there. I'm
looking forward to it as well.
It's so good, man. It's so good. It's hilariously good. It's unreasonably good.
I love it.
I'm pumped for it. Well, Grant, thanks for hanging out, man. I appreciate you spending some time with us. Business nerds, you guys know what to do. Work smarter and harder. Go earn some pride. We'll see you in the next one.